Today we have Peter Guilbert with us from California, who is one of our special Trek friends. So we are very excited to be able to have you meet him. He was an answer to our prayers in many regards, but the fun thing that we want to talk about today was our first initial meeting and the first day's hike out of Council Bluffs. Peter, thank you so much for making time for us today.
You're welcome.
So here's the goal for our talk today is number one, to introduce you and talk about the first day hike and also talk about impressions of what you thought of us and if you thought we would make it, things like that.
I saw your journal entry. I thought, boy, you're putting me a lot too high on a pedestal over that one.
Anyway, hopefully we can laugh and have a good time. It's not supposed to be formal. It's just supposed to be reminiscing. So Peter has some ancestry that deals with the Mormon Battalion. He had ancestors he didn't even know about. So do you want to tell us briefly about how that came to be, Peter?
I joined the church 22 years ago, and I had no idea about ancestors or anything else. My grandmother was an inactive member. My parents were not active members. After I joined the church, Virginia told me I need to start doing genealogy. I thought, okay, that's okay. I can try that. Got a hold of an aunt who kept all the genealogy. My grandmother says, "Oh, we don't have any ancestors in, pioneers. They came out in the train to Salt Lake, and that was all she knew." So I got a hold of the genealogy. Into that genealogy, I think $76 worth of Kinko's to copy it all. In that was Moses and Edward Wade, who joined the Mormon Battalion and were assigned to Company C in the battalion. And so it was a revelation to me, knowing that actually I had some ancestors, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool because I could actually walk in some of their footsteps as where they went. And so anyway, that's introduction to my two. Moses's wife Sally stayed in Council Bluffs along with, I know for sure, her daughter Minerva. And as far as we can tell from our records anyway, is Sally passed away in January 1847 when about the time Moses was getting into California.
Wow. So you probably didn't know anything at all about the Mormon Battalion, but now you know quite a bit.
It's funny because I didn't know anything about the Mormon Battalion, being related to people in the Mormon Battalion. But my first talk I gave in church, Virginia says, "You ought to talk about the Mormon Battalion." I thought, "Who? What's that?" Kind of thing. So I kind of put a really bad talk together and gave that to the church. I think I was doing Pioneer Day or something like that at church. So I got through that and no idea who's there, who they were. Kind of just talked about the basics about what they did and how far they went, all kind of stuff. So it was kind of funny that I did that, and later on, I've been reenacting Moses and Edward both for the last almost 16 years now.
So then the stars aligned, and you've heard about Battalion Trek. Do you even remember how you found out about us?
No, I don't. All I know is trying to go back, and all I remember was there was a phone number and a name that was Kevin and Denny Henson. And at the time I was thinking, Denny, that sounds like maybe it's two guys are going to do this. I had no idea it was you. But anyway, I called Kevin and said, I'm kind of interested, but you were going to charge all this money to go join you and do all this other stuff. And I really didn't want to do that. So I said, I think I paid for the first day out and that kind of stuff. And I think I also paid the trip from from Las Vegas to Albuquerque. I think I paid toward that somewhat too. But anyway, I had gotten my interview with Kevin. He asked me all these questions about everything and wanted to make sure I was legit and everything else, I guess. Finally, it got accepted, so I was happy to do so.
Oh, I didn't know that there was an acceptance process.
I couldn't believe anybody would want to pay money to come with me.
Well, you did find us, and you did actually track us down in Council Bluffs for that very first day. And you wanted to go there, you said, because your ancestors started from there.
Right. Actually, I found you at the visitors center at the temple. We met there for the first time. I drove over there and he said, "Okay, I'll meet you at this time." And here with Dan with I think you had your pioneer clothing on and everything else. I thought, well, that must be her. And I don't know what I had on, but you picked me out right away. So we just kind of got together and jumped into your Suburban and got a little tour with, can't remember his name, that took us on a tour of all the sites around there.
Gail Holmes.
Gail Holmes, yeah.
Gail Holmes, yeah.
Well, it was really nice for us to be able to go around with Gail Holmes that day and have him show us where things were and point things out to us. So that was our initial meeting with you. For some reason, I thought you had come to the park.
Nope. I came out the next day, I think.
So let's go back to that day. What was your first impression of us when you came and were able to spend a little bit more time with us at the park and see our setup and see what we were trying to accomplish?
I was kind of impressed with the amount of equipment and the planning you guys did as far as, being sufficient to go all that way, as far as the trailer and the Suburban and the Hensky truck and all the stuff you had on board there, and the barrels of water, your quad, and all this other stuff, some firewood set aside for in case you needed it going across the desert. So it was quite a bit of stuff there. I was impressed about that.
I was most impressed about the porta potty personally.
I was going to say, you didn't mention the porta potty.
Yeah, I did mention that one. Yeah, that was I didn't have to use it, so I was kind of passing over that one. Didn't have to use that until much later.
You weren't with us when this one happened, but we were out in central Kansas, and we were going to meet up with the bishop and his wife and some of the youth from one of the wards. And we met them in the parking lot, and the wife of the bishop came in, and she was just chuckling. And she said, "I've got to tell you," said, "my neighbor called me up and said, 'Oh, Mildred, be careful. There's gypsies around. They've even got a trailer with a porta potty on it.'"
Yeah.
We were a sight to behold, that's for sure.
Yes, it was interesting. It was driving around and everything else. It was quite impressive. But I mean, I was impressed at how well prepared you were for a lot of the eventualities and things that you may run into on your 2,000-mile trek there. So, I think it was pretty good. And I think I didn't get involved in much. I think I just went over and helped Kevin fill up some water jugs or his barrels, and met your father. And see, I'm real quiet and shy for the most part, and so I didn't really engage with anybody to speak of, other than, I guess, Kevin a little bit. And so, I didn't really engage with your father. I really love your father. Later on, as I got to know him a little more, really enjoyed talking to him and having him around.
Well, that was our comment as we were discussing today. It was like, what did we think of Peter? And it was both of us. He was very quiet.
Yes.
We did not know what to think of you. We were glad that you came. We thought it was so cool, but we did not know what to think of you because you were so quiet.
Yeah, the first day walking out was kind of interesting because we said what time we're going to start. And I didn't want to start too late because I knew it would get hot. So I said, okay, let's start, I think at 6 or 7, 7 o'clock, I guess. And so I got up, got dressed, got cleaned up, got ready to go, and drove over there. And there was nobody around. It was real quiet. I thought, didn't leave without me, did they? So I looked around and I kind of sat there in the car for a while. And I finally went up and banged on the door, and everybody was sound asleep. So
Is that our time zone difference?
Is that it? Okay. Well, what excuse do you? I didn't have any excuse. That's like 7 o'clock, or I got 6 or something like that. I think it was, which is 3 in the morning at my house, or 2 in the morning in my house. So, or 4 in the morning anyway. But anyway, I think that's Central Time. But yeah, So
Yeah,
I had to get up
and
early.
I didn't remember that. And I don't know what happened that morning, but yeah, because we're usually up pretty early.
Yeah. It was just kind of strange. Like, okay. So anyway, we got packed up and it was foggy. I thought, what the heck is this fog? I didn't realize it got foggy in that part of the country in the middle of summer. I wasn't expecting that.
Neither were we.
That was very eerie. It was
Yeah.
almost as if there was an aura around us trying to get started on this trek. It was really something all of us, I don't think we'll ever forget that morning standing on that road with that fog.
Yeah. That's
And not just that morning. It never really got horribly hot going down the Missouri to
wow.
Leavenworth. And we had fog almost every day up until noon and sometimes even the early afternoon. It was weird.
Wow. That's strange. Yeah.
Yeah, really strange.
Now the spirits are following you, I guess, huh?
Protecting us.
Yes, that's good.
From
Because
ourselves.
I needed the protection for that first day. It's like, I don't think I'd walk, in preparation, I did walk like 8 to 10 miles every day, not every day, but 4 or 5 times a week, just to try and get myself acclimated to walking that kind of distance and stuff. So, and it was what, 15 miles that first day, 12, 15 miles.
Yeah. That was pretty much average for us.
Yeah. So, but it was neat, walking off and knowing where, and a little bit about Peter Sarks, because I really learned a lot from Kevin from the stuff that he'd done a lot of research and had all good information. And Peter Sarky, wasn't it? Sarky's trading post there was supposed to be where we started.
Yeah, Sarpy's trading post. Yeah,
Sarky's, yeah, and so it was nice to know where that was and kind of a little bit about that. And then Kevin is just a fountain of information as far as walking and everything else. We were having a great time. I was learning a lot from him as far as geology and all kinds of stuff around there. So that was kind of neat.
Did I talk too much?
No, I didn't talk.
Quiet.
Yeah, Peter was quiet, so I had to fill up the dead space, man.
That's about it too. So
we started Sarpy's because that was where they left from the soldiers' camp at Peter Sarpy's. They mustered up at Council Bluffs on the 16th, and so we started down there on the 19th, as I recall, leaving from the area of Sarpy's. And we were scheduled to come back a few days later for the following Saturday for a historic reenactors event related to Lewis and Clark, the white catfish camp. So
wow.
We left a couple days early because we knew we were going to lose a couple days working in speaking at white catfish.
And the Sarpies, that was as close as you could get to the actual place because the river had moved, right?
Yeah, the river had swung further to the east and leaving the location of the original Sarpy's trading post over on the other side of the river, but it had been pretty well eaten away by the river as it moved. And
yeah, and that's those rivers just kind of they kind of go where they want to go. So
well, I got a unique perspective because, of course, I was the one that was left behind and watched you walk down the road. And with the mist around you and with your period clothes, I actually got emotional and teary-eyed because you two looked like just two missionaries that might have been going off to serve a mission in 1846.
Wow.
It was a very surreal experience for me to watch you. Even with the wires and everything else that were around you, it wasn't particularly primitive or a pristine environment, but with that mist and your clothing and just walking side by side down that road, it was really emotional. I got goosebumps watching you.
All we're missing is carrying a Book of Mormon, right?
That's right. Didn't you have it in your backpack?
No. I didn't have it in my haversack. Should have, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blue copy.
And you also look like you were two little kids out on a field trip out of school. You were bending over and getting rocks and going over and smelling trees. And I thought, good grief, we're never going to get there. You look like you were having such a great time.
And you know, that's true. You never know what is going to strike you odd and funny and interesting as you're going along. And that was so early on. Everything struck me odd and funny, and I want to know about it. Lots of pictures of flowers.
Yeah, I remember you took pictures of flowers forever. How many thousands of pictures of flowers do you have?
You know, I never counted that, but we have over 22,000 photos and video clips.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, on that first day, so Kevin got to know Peter a little bit better. What were your thoughts about Peter after the first day? And then, Peter, you can share your thoughts.
You know, it was obvious Peter was not a talker. And but you know what you could share, what you did share. You know, you're a firefighter for the state of California and out on the frontier, and you know, out in the sticks doing things, and you know, you'd been doing reenacting, so we had some of those connections that you know, we had things to talk about. And so as I got to know you a little bit more, I thought, you know, this is a pretty solid guy. He's got a brain on his shoulder. He's respected among his peers. He's got chops, you know. So very pleased to make your acquaintance. Would have been nice to have had you around a little bit longer, but you know, like you said, your goal was to hike the first day, and then you had to go home and do other things, and I understood that.
Well, actually, I flew back to Salt Lake and marched in the Days of 47 parade.
But Peter, I was surprised when I reread my journal that it was just a matter of days, very few days, before we got a phone call from you, and you said that you wanted to come back. So do you want to tell a little bit about how that happened?
That was the Las Vegas trip. And I don't know if I signed up that right off the bat, or if I was so impressed with you folks that I had to go again, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, an opportunity to visit my sister who lives in Las Vegas, New Mexico. And so I figured, okay, let's kill two birds with one stone. So I figured fly out to Albuquerque and rent a car, go up to visit my sister, spend the night with her, and then come back and meet you guys in Santa Fe. And then we went to the Rancho Golondrinas festival thing there. So, and then we came back after that was all done, and came back and started our little walking trek from Las Vegas to Albuquerque. So, but it was something I, wanted to do. And then much later than that, I was been home for a little while, and Virginia says, "You really want to go back again, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I really would," And so, idiot that I was, we came down and met you guys in Tucson, and said goodbye to my sweetheart in just north of Tucson near the Picacho Peak. Anyway, and then from there to San Diego. So it was quite an interesting situation.
I remember you calling up not long after you'd gone home from Albuquerque and said, "Kevin, oh, hi, Peter, how you doing?" Says, "Can I come back and hike with you the rest of the way?" I thought, oh man.
Did he have his head examined?
This guy's got it bad. A little bit. And I said, yeah, sure, you bet. Come on, join in the party. I mean, because that's really what it was all about. If there were people that wanted to hike, fine. Let's make that available if they want to. Just try to do it safely. And so you were the only other long distance hiker with us, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Peter became part of our family. You weren't just a Trek friend; you were our Trek family, and
it felt like it. Yeah, it was really nice to be part of the family too. It was a pleasure, been hiking with Kevin and going out and spending time and trails. That's what I was going to say. Going nuts, finding ruts along the Santa Fe part there before we got into Santa Fe, and then ever since that time, Virginia and I go up onto Highway 80 where the Immigrant Trail comes over Donner Pass and everything else. We've hiked a bunch of those trails, and we found some pristine trail and the whole, things. Mostly it's, we're not looking at the Mormon Battalion specifically, but just that after they pioneered, the trail and everything else, like we did for going through the southern route, we see rust marks we know from all the wagons that followed after the battalion came through and pioneered the trail. So it was like, you got me hooked now, because everywhere I look, I see trail.
I have to take us back just momentarily for the end of the first day, if you can remember, when we got to the trailer.
Little town of Glenwood. We were parked in the county fair trailer park area.
Yeah.
Right by a cute little stream.
It was a beautiful setting.
It was. Except for, creating your own stream. Other than that, it was gorgeous.
Would you like to explain that for our listeners?
Well, it was kind of interesting. We would hike, down along the road there that we'd follow to kind of probably close to where the route was. Then we climbed a long hill going up to the town of Glenwood, and we get a little tired and think, okay, well, this is good, and look at the nice shady spot that the trailer was in, and all of a sudden look up there, and there's a little waterfall coming out of the back of the trailer, coming out of the ground. I thought, this isn't good.
Little waterfall? Would you care to correct that? It looked like Niagara.
And your father-in-law sitting there on the chair having a, resting, didn't notice it, I guess. I don't know, but but it was interesting.
You go from I'm tired, I'm done to, oh my gosh, there's enough adrenaline in me to,
Yeah. So I remember sticking around a little while, and I think we kind of tore the room apart and pulled up that the bed underneath is where I guess the leak was. And this is, well, I can't help you there. So I decided to go back.
Kevin said it was one of the first times in his life that he ever looked and said, I really can't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, you hear people say, I can't believe my eyes. And I got to tell you, that is the first and only time I've really experienced that kind of a situation where I came around, I saw something, I said, my eyes are, I can't, no, I'm not. Oh my gosh.
You gotta do a double take, triple take, just to see what's going on, and see, it's like, oh my gosh, where's that water?
It was definitely a triple take, because I mean, literally, it was a sheet of water all the way across the tail end of the trailer, just sheeting off like a little waterfall. It's like,
yeah.
No, a trailer doesn't do that.
No.
Our trailer does.
I was having a real hard time comprehending what was really going on there for a second or two.
And what was funny as we were talking about this was, why didn't my dad know that? And why didn't my dad, take care of that? And I said to Kevin, well, he probably thought we were smart enough to know that we had to have a pressure regulator on the trailer. Why would he think that he had to take care of us like that? We're the ones that bought the trailer. Yeah. So when we talk about us out on the trail with all this equipment, we really were not prepared. We didn't understand our equipment. Kevin, tell him the story about that.
We were greenhorns. Honestly, we had never owned or really used one of those mobile trailers before. You get in, you think, okay, well, this is supposed to work. That's supposed to work the way it does at home. So, had those little handheld shower nozzle kind of things. And I'm standing in the little shower thing. And of course, we hadn't figured out how to turn on the water heater yet. And so anything coming out was cold water, but it was just coming out little drills, just like somebody spitting on you. And it's like, this is worthless. Why doesn't somebody make something that works well in these things? And I'm just, so probably went for a good week and a half that way, having cold showers and little spit baths. And then one day I just happened to notice on the very top of the shower thing was a little switch. I thought, wonder what that does. Lo and behold.
Just let water in the toilet, the shower, huh?
And I don't think that the water would have been such an issue if we hadn't just had 2 weeks of non-stop trailer issues.
Oh.
From Mount Pisgah to Council Bluffs, we had just every day we were at the RV repair place, and We got
Wow.
hit by lightning. We had the water pipes break in the bathroom, and then we found out that they were plumbed wrong. So we had just been dealing with trailer issue after trailer issue. And so to go and come back that first day and have that happen again was just,
Yeah, I felt sorry for you having to pack everything up again and go back up to council where we had to get it fixed. And thought, oh man, after all this today and everything else, now you got to go back up there and deal with that. I kind of felt sorry for you.
And dry it out. But
Yeah.
that's what they did. They crossed a stream, the wagon upset, or they got into deep water. They had to get to the other side, and then they had to unload everything, try to dry it out, and put it back in the next day, and go another day. And if heaven help them, if they had to go through another stream, then they had to repeat the whole thing all over again.
Yeah.
well, it was wonderful to be able to have you along on the first day. It was fun to have Kevin have his scouts for the first day out of Mount Pisgah. But it really was special to have you come because of the way you explained your desire to be there, and because it meant something personally to you. And so rather than just have him go walking down that road by himself that first morning, I think that was really special for all of us. And
that's true, Peter, because I'm constantly walking down the road wondering, why in heaven's name am I doing this? Because I didn't know at that time that I had any relation on the Mormon Battalion Trail. I found that out much later. But yeah, I'm wondering, why am I doing this? Why me? But so to have somebody along say, yeah, it was my fifth, sixth grade grandfather and his son and uncle, niece, nephew, and those kinds of things. As people would talk to us, it's, oh, okay, this is personal to them, and it became sacred.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess what was really interesting to me when I look back on that first day, when we came back to that trailer and had that mess, it was a mess. And we were all so discouraged. And you had left, and Allison, our young intern with us, we were pretty frugal with our water, but that was her day to have a shower.
Oops.
And we didn't have water, and she was trying to be a real trooper. But well, I had to haul everything to the laundromat because there really was no way we could have gotten it dry. It was so wet, everything. So I was at the laundromat, and I get this phone call from Allison, and she says, Denny, there's this couple here at the trailer, and they're looking for you and Kevin. And of course, Kevin had gone off to try to get the part. And I said, well, who are they? She says, I don't know. They just said they've been looking for you, and they've tracked you down, and they have a journal from their ancestor that was on the Mormon Battalion, and they want to share it with you.
Wow.
And then everything was okay. It was like, okay, this is why we're doing this, because these were real people. They're people's families. Whether we understood that, we had ancestors that had been on that trail or not, it just kind of set the world right for me. And they came in our trailer. They had kids that were running around the park and climbing trees. And she sat on the couch and read us her relative's journal. As crazy as days got, there were always these little snippets to try to ground us back and remind us, oh yeah, it's okay.
I think you guys touched a lot of hearts all through the whole trail, all the things that you did and getting people to realize and remember that, the ancestors and what they went through and everything else. And it was for me, it was a good introduction, or at least an introduction. So I could say I'd walked in the footsteps of my ancestors. And I was fortunate enough to be able to bookend it, beginning and the end. So it was really really special for me.
Good.
Well, it was an amazing experience. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say that we didn't ask you, or any thoughts that you have come to mind as we've been visiting?
You brought a lot of it to my mind and everything else since you started, asking me about this stuff. And there was a lot of, memories that came back. I didn't start a journal until I, got into Tucson or something like that. And I started writing things down, not nearly in detail I wish I would have, but at least I started writing a little bit. as far as what we did during the day. Memories come and go, and I really enjoy those memories because I had a good time with you guys. So I just really appreciate letting me come along and enjoyed your company.
Well, the thing that we were discussing also today was when I said at the beginning you were an answer to prayer. You so were, because we had been praying, please send somebody that can help us. And when my dad got sick and he had to go back, and then we were by ourselves for that stretch. And then you were there when we actually had people hiking with us, and we could not have done it without you. The experience you had with the reenacting and with your just background, you were just the perfect person. And the way you just were always there right when something needed to be done without ever asking. You just knew what had to happen and you were there making it happen. And it just was incredible for us.
Your experience saved the experience in many different ways that would not have happened otherwise. And it really was an answer to prayer. And so you're much an integral and valued part of that entire experience, Peter.
Thank you. The only thing I wish I would have done is learn how to check and see what voltage you were running your trailer on. Yeah, that was bad.